here, Dean 78904. If you want to get all technical, we are the start of 2 hours, 2+ hours of nonstop Mlb Dfs conversation, taking you off straight up the lock first pitch. Big boy slate. I believe it's a 12-gamer. 12 games going down tonight. Crunch time coming in at 6:15. You get STL cards. TastefulTides. Tim, he did such a good job hosting yesterday. He's running it back. He's hosting once again. And I don't recall who the third person is. I thought I would get there. It's in the email. Does anybody happen to know? We'll let the people know in a second. Somebody legitimate. It's two of the sharpest people in the business. So one of them is STL cards, and the other one, it's DerekCarty, CEO of the Bat and the Blitz. Two of the sharpest people in the business as well on this show. Both former $1 million winners. Chop, you had a busy day because I believe earlier today, you recorded a college football video, college football week 0 going down tomorrow. Can the people access that? Is that premium? How would I watch that?
Actually, it's typically premium. Week 0 is free. Everybody gets it for free. So I think it's being edited right now, and it should be up on the site here really, really shortly. So it's free, man. Jump on in there, play you some week 0 college football, and get ready for the real stuff next weekend.
It's all about the little I know. It's the Heisman winner, right? Williams, he's playing in the slate, and how do you not play him is one of the big conundrums, I suppose.
Yeah, that's kind of the big, 30-point spread. That's what these first couple weeks of college football, you're going to have some of those, a big old 30-point spread. And so just got to figure out, is he going to play a quarter, a half? When do they foot off the gas pedal? Things like that. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun. Nice little, Saturday night, you get 5 games on the TV and just something besides NFL preseason, that doesn't mean anything. This means something.
Is there anything more tilting, Chop, I imagine, when you're playing like the quarterback or the running back or the receiver and the team that's favored by 30 points and they're going to run it up and at some point they have to tap out, than like defensive touchdowns and pick sixes or like punt returns for touchdowns? That's got to be the worst because you're just counting down how many touchdowns ahead until my guys get pulled. Is that the most tilting thing? I feel like it's got to be super tilting.
It is. It's on the list, Dean. It's on the list. There's several things that'll get you, though, in college football that really kind of chap your hide. So, but that's definitely one of them. And so it happens, man. But once we hit about week 3 and we start to get more conference games, everything gets a little bit tighter. Spreads get tighter, and we're good. You just got to navigate through these first few weeks.
I did see also, not to keep on this, but one more thought, because you were mentioning things that are tilting that are on the list. Also on the list is probably the game kicks off and like a minute into the game, the announcer's like, oh yeah, the star running back, he was suspended. We didn't tell you guys until right now. I guess I saw the Big 12 or is it the Big 10? One of the conferences are saying kind of like the NFL, because wink, wink, they know gambling is a thing. They know gambling is real. They're letting you know who's eligible. Did you see this news? And is that going to be all the conferences or is that kind of exclusive to the Big 10? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, they're going to vote on it and it should get accepted. So we should have some 2 hours before kickoff. You should get some Big 12 news. So that'll help. And if eventually I would expect all the conferences to do it. But, it's up to the coaches, man. What do they really want to give out? You know what I mean? So we'll have to. But here's the thing about it, Dean. Yeah, we make a joke about it. You get caught with it sometimes. But that's kind of what you're paying RG to do here. Because there are a lot of guys who are doing nothing but following the news and trying to get it into chat on Discord on Saturday morning, so you don't get bit with that. There's been more times where we've been way we blew past the field because we had the news. Everybody who has a sub gets the news, while other people didn't, and they, the casual just kind of let it go by. So. It's a give and take, Dean. It's a give and take on that.
I might jump in and play a little bit tomorrow night. You said a 5-gamer. It's not too overwhelming. Let's have a good time, watch some college football. And like you said, the Discord channel, I assume that channel's free. I know most of the channels are free these days.
Yeah, I think we're free there, Dean.
Yeah, I see Andy in there hanging out. I see yourself. I just pulled it up, the college football Discord channel, RotoGrinders.com/Discord. And just go to the college football space. Of course, there's an MLB space. There's an NFL space that's getting the conversations getting started. I see Jamino keeps on dropping stuff in there in regards to preseason. What's up, Bobby? How's Friday treating you? Bobby.
It's good, Dean. It's good. Not as good as your Friday. You're in a roll, right? Like Langley Ears last night, 2 dingers. So 2 of those dongs went down. I was chirping you because I think it was Eric Johnson in chat who said it was. I was like, yeah, he got his 2 dingers. He's being greedy, and then he just mushed us on the A's. And then all of a sudden, I mean, the first dinger, and then the second dinger came, and then the A's had like 8 runs, and I was like, oh wow. So I got to eat my words here. Dean got me. So yeah,
I'm kind of tilted because I got a guy that, like, if I like something, I got a guy, that kind of thing. I'm in the wrong state to, like, whatever. And I love the over in that game. And I even touted the over in the game yesterday. If you guys were watching the show, I said I like the over in Chicago and Oakland. Like you said, it took a while for them to get there, but you had an extreme hitters umpire, extreme heat, incredible heat. The worst pitcher on the slate for Oakland, the worst bullpen Oakland has. They ended up losing the game because the pitcher for the White Sox wasn't particularly good. A lot of power guys in that game all around. And as Carty says, Carty claims it's the best home run hitting ballpark in all of baseball there in Chicago. So I know it was 10 and kind of like 2 gutless offenses, but we really liked the over. But hey, you're only as good as the slate today. You're only as good as your last prediction. We got nothing. We got nothing out there just yet, so we have to have a good show. We're here for the next hour and 5 minutes. We yield the crunch time. And like you said, you mentioned the dongs. Dean's dongs are on fire. I don't know. We have a producer Steve. He could do some things in the fly. I should have mentioned it to him earlier, but if you can put like some kind of fire on the picture, and when we finally get the Dean's dongs fired up, because we have hit a homer every single week. Some 2 times 2. Some actually we had a 3. Like you said, Langoliers a 2 the other night. We had a Big Dumper Colorado had a couple earlier in the week, so they've been on fire. I'm actually was asking in the chat, the Discord chat. I was trying to see what they thought as far as some recommendations. I haven't quite settled. We'll figure it out. Of course, we'll get Chopper's no triple G plays, unfortunately, but there's no TJ. You're certainly welcome to give it out, but I mean, I always ask for it.
I can't give it out without TJ, but man, there's a good 10 minutes of my day wasted if I don't even.
Well, you can apply it to your lineups if nothing else, I imagine.
I could, Dean. You know what, Dean? You're nailing. You're really nailing the dongs here these days. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, you're on fire. It reminds me of, might maybe do some Photoshop skills, but you remind me of that GIF on Twitter where that girl has all the hot dogs being thrown at her face in slow motion.
I almost sent that to him last night.
Yeah, that's Dean with the dongs, man.
I thought you're going with a Costco route, but that one doesn't surprise me either. We'll give them out later on in the show. You got the like button. Hit that like button. I'm not sure what our particular threshold will be. But, Chop, you're going to have your knockers. I believe your knockers flopped last night.
Look how fast that producer is, man. He's already pulled it up.
It's too quick.
I didn't see it because I did not have the camera.
Never looking at the screen, Dean. Never looking at the screen.
Because it's a whole thing to get into behind the scenes. But my cable wire is not very trusting, and every once in a while it comes out. If it comes out and the screen is on the wrong page, my video will crash. It's a whole production, and I got to figure this out because my wires are not as stable as I want them to be. I buy one of these connections like every 6 months, and they just seem to rot on me. But anyways, all right, 12 gamer. Let's talk about it. Cards gonna be out later on in the show. I just read cards gonna be out later tonight, and that's what popped out in my head. Also, I'll be on this weekend with Sirius from 7 to 9 Saturday night with STL Cards. Do check that out as well. Might be 6 to 8. It's on the weekends, Saturday night. We have Spencer Strider tonight to chop. He's throwing baseballs. He's really, really good at throwing baseballs. He's super, super expensive. We have some cheap options as well on DK as an SB2 to kind of make that work if we want to make it work. Other good pitchers, Kodai Senga, Cease against those terrible Oakland Athletics. Webb is really good, but a tough matchup against Atlanta. Woodruff, solid arm, just coming back for a couple starts here. Darvish, also pretty solid, but, the matchup's fine. He's had some BABIP issues of late. Cole Irvin is going to be the guy we're going to talk about a fair bit because he's facing Colorado. Colorado is putrid. They're even worse outside of Colorado. And Cole Irvin is professionally trained to throw baseballs, and he's 5K on DK. Chop, I think one of the big sticking points in this slate is what we're doing with the mustachioed Spencer Strider, the greatest strikeout pitcher in baseball, having one of the best strikeout seasons of all time for a starter. Give me the screenshot as far as the slate, what you're looking at, and then we can kind of talk about Strider and the rest of the pitchers.
The general screenshot is the pitching is far superior to the hitting today. So I think it's prudent to make sure you nail on DraftKings your 2-man pitching combination. the stacks, yeah, there's a couple of good teams. You're gonna find some good teams when you have a 12-game slate, but there's a lot more really good pitching than there is really good hitting tonight. So I'm willing to pay up for a guy like Spencer Strider, and he has a the potential to be the number one scorer on any slate he gets on. So it's a high price tag, but like I said, I don't think there's necessarily super big expensive hitting that we have to go after tonight. We'll talk about it in depth, but it's a big price tag, but I don't mind it. And there's a lot of pitching to pair with him, and we'll talk about those guys specifically too. But this is my goal tonight with my lineups: spend up on pitching or spend in the mid-range on pitching, whatever. But I think there's going to be two guys that lead you to a tournament win more so than a particular offense tonight.
How about yourself, Bobby? What are you seeing as far as this slate? Strider currently 27% owned on DK. We're looking at that as the top option. So it's kind of spread out. We have a lot of guys in the 20s and the teens. Fott is getting a fair bit of ownership. Brandon Fott really got his face punched in when he first started his professional career, but a lot of hype. He's come back and he's actually been pretty competent the last two times around, and he's super, super cheap as well. Your assessment, what are you looking at here, Bobby, as far as tonight's 12-gamer?
Yeah, I think Strider is the biggest decision point. What you're doing there at 12-8. For me, like, I think there is enough good pitching options on the slate. Go to a guy like Cease, Sanga, Woodruff. I don't even hate Bryce Miller. And then you have some of these guys in the lower end, Cole Irvin. You hit on Fott. Hugh Darvish at 8.5, I don't mind versus Milwaukee. There's a lot of different ways you can go at pitcher, like Chop said. Pitcher is very strong. So not that I'm fading Strider, I'll probably be slightly over, but there's definitely going to be a guy like Cease or Sanga that I'm going to be, I'll probably have more of, I would say. And then in terms of the stacks, 12-game slate, they're all going to be spread out. The Dodgers are on the slate. There's good hitting weather in a lot of different places. So I think that there is reason to want to pay up for bats. So that's another knock against Strider for me within construction, but we'll see as we kind of talk through it.
You mentioned weather. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, I think he's going to try to do his best to update stuff on his Twitter. But the way I understand things, the way I understand his write-up, he wrote up about San Francisco. He said he's debating going to the game out there in San Fran. So I assume he's still out there in San Francisco. The one we have to monitor as of right now, it seems like, is Boston. You got boots in the ground there, Bobby, right? And of course,
I'm sure looking right out the window right now. Yeah, no rain yet.
He's got it at yellow, orange. I'm not going to read it for the people. I'll just go ahead and drop this in chat. And I assume if he has a chance, he'll do his best to update this. It's also how could it rain on Mookie Betts? It's been 4 years since he's played in Boston. Can you imagine? I
can't imagine that they traded him for Alex Verdugo. I'm still can't get over it. And then I guess Kyle Bloom was at a dinner and was taking a victory lap for the trade and getting Verdugo for Mookie Betts over the winter. And that was a big thing people were talking about because it just doesn't make any sense. How could you ever victory lap that?
Was there no chance he was going to resign? I thought there was a number floated out there. Wasn't there an opportunity?
He denied that they ever offered him the 300. He was looking for 300. He said he would have stayed, but he denies that they ever offered it, which I believe him. They're cheap.
Yeah, I was watching a clip. He seems excited and kind of nervous about coming back. He was actually talking with Enrique Kike Hernandez, so another former Red Sox. He's going to get an ovation, right? They're going to cheer him. They should, right? I assume they're going to love him.
I would imagine so. Yeah, they booed Brady though, so I don't. They were booing Brady. I don't know how you could boo Brady. So I don't know. You can definitely boo. Beth. You can boo Brady.
Was that divisive with the Brady boos, or was 80%, 90%?
The Brady thing, it was I just even boo Brady. I couldn't even imagine booing Brady.
Yeah, as a Boston guy, that's
yeah.
When he came back with Tampa, I assume, right?
Can you think about what New England would be like without the last 2 decades of Patriots dominance? It literally snows and rains here almost every day. There's nothing going on.
I was trying to think I was thinking Detroit. I don't know. I was gonna say Buffalo. I don't know. Buffalo's got a fun team.
I don't know how you could boo Brady. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It seems like a weird thing, but I guess it made him feel good in the moment, I suppose. But yeah, if you're a fan of the narrative street stuff, we got Betts coming back tonight. And just looking at you, I can't remember which one of you guys said. What are y'all talking about as far as the The hitting is not amazing, right? It's a 12-gamer. We love the Braves, always the Braves. But always the Braves, even in San Fran, even against Logan Webb, they have a team total barely above 4. Like, of course, you could stack the Braves, but this is about as the least of appealing a spot they can possibly find themselves in. Team totals above 5 on the slate. There are very few. Almost Arizona. Arizona's creeping up to 5. Baltimore is above 5. We're looking at, a 5.45 total against Kyle Freeland and whatever's in that bullpen coming out. Philly barely over 5 against Michaelis. Pretty good ballpark as well. But I think that's it. Just the 2 teams over 5 as far as projected team totals. So there's not really anything you absolutely must have. It should be kind of spread out when it comes to hitters. And it's going to be kind of spread out when it comes to pitching as well. Because obviously, if we did not live in the world of salary cap, people would just say, give me Strider and I'll figure everything else out. But he is kind of a big decision point, Bobby. And Strider versus, I think you mentioned Cease. Like, Cease looks pretty good. And the matchup against Oakland's pretty good. And it's a meaningful difference. It's like 4K difference. 12.8K for Strider that's a big boy price. So this isn't like 10K, 10.5. Earlier in the season, he was 11. He's really, really worked his way up the ladder, and justifiably so. But Cease is just such a dramatic savings. It's like 10K versus 6K, right? And Cease is the 6K guy in this example. I like him dollar for dollar more. I love Strider, but it's just a matter of trying to figure out lineup construction and all that. But yeah, let's start there. You're making 150, Bobby? What's the plan?
I'm going 150, yeah.
Okay, so what's the official Strider plan? Obviously, subject to change.
I'm going to be slightly over the field on Strider.
Yeah. What about yourself, Chop? What's your official Strider plan?
Is that a trick question?
Well, no. I mean, it's just like I presume, I don't want to speak for you, but I presume whatever model you have, your proprietary model, is telling you that Strider is good, but it's just he's super expensive. I want to get more than the field too, of course.
I'll have more than the field. He's the biggest slate breaking upside, and yeah, there's downside. He's shown it, but there's so many cheap bats that even stacks out there if you want to stack with Strider and another halfway decent. So on DraftKings, if I go Strider and throw me I kind of like, let's say Bryce Miller. I like Bryce Miller.
Okay. By
the way, didn't I tell you last show? Did I tell the people I like Seattle? I like Seattle to win the American League. Well,
yeah.
This is one of the reasons why, because they just keep coming at you with good young pitchers, right? So Bryce Miller, really good. So if I play those 2 guys, yeah, man, I still got $3,600 per player for my stack. I can punt the catcher spot at 2K. That gives me even more money than that, and I'm already identifying. Let me see my stacks. Yeah, my number 1 stack is actually pretty darn cheap tonight. So, yeah, I have no problems playing Strider like above the field here.
I'm trying to see if you did expert rankings today.
I did not. But speaking of content today, while you gander at whatever you want to gander at, I have to give a shout out, Dean. Kirky, he couldn't make the show. He's under the weather. He's under the weather here. But man, what a champion! He gets his lineup HQ tags in and everything, even though he's got the crabs or whatever. He ate the fish, whatever it is. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. He's feeling out.
I don't know what he ate.
Yeah, he championed through it and got his lineup HQ tags in. So man, yeah, props to him, man.
Yeah, he mentioned earlier in the week he was going to be on the Friday show. It just popped in my head. Yeah, I'm glad. Thank you, whoever stepped up. I think it was Bobby who stepped in. Appreciate you stepping in.
Yeah, big shout out to Bobby for stepping in. And while we're here, I need to while it's on my mind, I need to ask Bobby's got a little money in his pocket. He's hit a lot of MLB lately. We know he's $1 million winner. For the love of God, Bobby, you hate the weather. You hate the basketball team, all the sports teams. You hate the fans for booing Brady. Why don't you move out of Boston, man?
I should move out of Boston.
There's so many nicer places to go.
I might go visit Dean down in Florida pretty soon.
Oh, what about? Well, you want to get away from Kirkwood as well? Is that part of it? Is that more incentive or less incentive that Kirkwood?
No, I stepped up here for Kirkwood. I like Kirk. He's one of the bright spots. I don't know, but just I've been here for too long, man.
Are you official? Is that where you're like born and raised?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've never lived anywhere else but Boston or in the surrounding areas?
Never, no.
Yeah, man. It's What about Chop?
I vacation a lot, but I vacation a lot, but obviously it's different than living,
I just can't. The winters sound miserable to me as somebody, who grew up in the South. I can't imagine. Yeah, I mean, I lived in Nashville and I lived in Charleston, where it'll snow on occasion, but not to what I've seen in pictures. I've been to Boston, but in summertime. But I just can't imagine shoveling snow. Is that you got a guy or you do that yourself? How does that work?
It's terrible.
You want to go to the mall or something? You got to go shovel some snow first. That's
I live in a pretty my neighborhood. You know how the majority of the country's on a grid. We're one of the first neighborhoods in the country, so everything's kind of compact, and it's like an old town in Europe, I would say. So you literally have to fight for parking spots, the snow, spot savers, save a spot. It's just as bad as it can get. Yeah, it's not fun. Not a winter guy. I like the fall though. Fall's nice.
All right. Fall's October?
October now. Yeah. I guess you don't really have a fall season in Florida, do you, Dean? It's just
not really, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm aware. I've heard about him. I read about him.
It's fancy. The fall is great. Fall's a great sweatpants weather. That's the best time of the year.
Is that? I think I heard Bill Simmons once have what is it, sweatpants day or something like that? What's the term? Is it hoodie day? No, is it
hoodie and sweatpants for a good 2 months, and then you have to get a jacket.
What's the first day where you don't have to wear that? Is it called something? If Simmons was a Boston guy, I remember he had a term for it, but I'm forgetting what it's called.
Maybe, possibly.
We're getting sidetracked. Chop, you want to give him the sales pitch for being your neighbor in Texas?
Ooh. Dean, if I didn't have these anchors around me called kids, I'd be out of here, man. It has been 100 or more, for 80% of the summertime. It's awful, man. I don't mind warm, hot weather. I'm not born and raised in Texas. I'm used to it. But over 100, yeah, that's a lot, man. So, but I'm here. I'm stuck, Dean. That's what they say. But I wouldn't move here if I was somebody else.
Choppa, refreshing the ownership here on DK as far as our pitchers. Let's see, 5. Let's see the last ownership batch. I want to get the most recent batch. So I'm refreshing as of right now. We did get an update. Okay, let's see what's changed. 28% for Strider. This one's kind of surprising to me, Chop, that Brandon Pfaadt's going to be 24% at 5.6K. Okay, so I thought Irvin was going to be more popular because he's facing Colorado. So we have Irvin at 5K getting 24%. It's the same. They're basically chopping it. 24% and 24%. Brandon Pfaadt, Cole Irvin, Pfaadt versus Colorado, Irvin versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati, lots of power, but also lots of Ks in that lineup. Pfaadt, lots of promise in that arm. It's been mostly bad, but it's been good lately. Do you have a preference amongst these two cheapies? And I saw somebody in chat saying the Irvin was a trap at 24%. Is Pfaadt also a trap? You got to assume eventually he's going to figure it out, tons of pedigree. I like both those guys in the mix. Do you have a lean as far as one versus the other when it comes to your cheap SB2 on DK?
Who was that for, Dean?
That's for you, Chop.
Yeah, definitely. Irvin. There is absolutely no doubt I would rather play Cole Irvin. In fact, I would. I'm not saying he can't get there. The game logs look decent enough for fat, but I would say that I am much, much more likely. In fact, I've got Cincinnati, spoiler alert, as a top 5 stack for me tonight. So I would much rather play Cincinnati than to play the pitcher there. I definitely, and I don't think Cole Irvin's great by any means, but I would much rather play him. Much rather.
How about yourself, Bobby?
Yeah, I think I'm on Irvin over Pfaadt. I like Chop's call on Cincy. I think they're sneaky. So yeah, definitely prefer Irvin. I don't even hate this is gonna obviously we know Seattle's been striking out at a pretty high clip. I think you can get to some Brady Singer if you'd like to. I don't versus Seattle if you're playing 150. He's up at 6,900. My favorite would obviously be Cole Irvin by a long shot though.
Singer is, at least he was earlier today, getting some ownership. Yeah, he's getting 6% at 6.9 versus Seattle. Senga getting 14%. Miller, who Choppa he liked last time out. I assume he likes him again versus Kansas City tonight. You mentioned him already, 15%. Darvish getting 10. You got the Hound, Chris Bassett getting about 8% or so. Sonny Gray, 5%. Dunning at 5%. I think he's an interesting tournament guy. And one of the things I saw people were talking about this in the Discord earlier, Hunter Green Like my general Hunter Green rule is like you're supposed to get over the field on Hunter Green, and you're supposed to attack him probably more than the field as well. Like go both ways on it and just hope for outliers. I just don't think I'm going to get to Green at $9K full price. And, he's still coming back from injury, still kind of working his way back. His one start back, he was absolutely, crushed. Can give up a lot of homers, can strike out a lot of dudes. I don't know. You're running 150, Bobby. Does Green get any? Does he get a piece? Does he get 5%? Is he somebody in the mix for you?
I don't have Green currently. I do have Dane Dunning, though. I like the Dunning call. Like Dunning versus attacking Minnesota. So I could go there. Arizona is just not striking out at a very high clip currently. So for me, it's going to be tough. And you mentioned Hunter Green's coming back from injury. I don't know. I feel like there's other guys I'd rather go to in that range. You kind of hit on Cease, Senga. So yeah, not too much Green for me.
Chop, what do you have on anything on Green, Senga, Cease? Anybody you want to talk about in that grouping?
Green is okay. He's got that fastball. He's always got that chance that he's going to have a rack up a good game. So he's a GPP guy for sure. Senga looks really, really interesting. I like Senga tonight actually quite a bit. I think this Angels team, Dean, is falling apart, man. Like mentally, emotionally, the lineup obviously. Mike Trout's gone again. I mean, I don't know about their other big gun there if he's going to be able to.
Ohtani lost the UCL, right?
Yeah. They say it doesn't really bother you that much when you swing, but I don't know. Who knows, man? Maybe just it's professional hitting, man. Even the slightest thing could mess him up. So I don't know. Lineup mentally, they're falling apart. I like Senga quite a bit. Cease, Cease is one of my favorite players on the pitching slate. Like he's erratic in his game logs and back up and down there, but man, he's still pretty good. He's still got the arm talent. And this is just a really good matchup for him. It's just a bunch of young hitters, and some of them have the talent, but yeah, I think he's going to overpower him tonight. So I like these. This whole range right here you mentioned. I like that. I like all those guys.
There's another one there too, and Darvish. I like Darvish a good bit at 8.5, just to throw another one out there.
Give the sales pitch on Darvish. I guess he's just a little bit too cheap for his skill set. He's been a little bit unlucky of late.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's Milwaukee. I know Milwaukee's been better, but still, I think they're striking out at a pretty high clip. 28% for Taylor, 25 for Terang, 22 for Monasterio. Like there's strikeouts there, so I don't hate Darvish.
I like the Senga call a good bit. He's one of my favorite tournament plays. I agree with the Angels are just I'm not taking a victory lap here, but come on, it's over for the Angels. We might see Ohtani get shut down at some point this season too. Trout, it seems like he's probably done for the season too. Like they brought him back, he just he got hurt instantly, and a lot of strikeouts in this lineup too. We're looking at 23.4%. Moniak strikes out a ton, 34%. Have they seen him before? I feel like Senga's like one of those guys, just probably tough the first time you ever see him with that ghost fork. Curious if the Angels have actually seen him pitch. I don't think they have. Never. They have not. Yeah, I feel pretty good about him. And I saw even, I think it was producer Steve was talking positive about the Mets, and, not a lot of positive talk about the Mets these days, but have a good feeling about the Mets tonight, taking down the Angels, or, pretty wounded for sure. Cease, as far as the Ks on the season, pretty good number, 26.7%. The walks, certainly an issue over, in double digits, 10.3%. Biggest K rate in the slate is Strider, almost by 10%, like 38% K rate, just outrageous. Number 2 is Hunter Green. I don't know the form he is in, but 30.4% Ks is really good. The walks are teetering, about 10% walks, too many fly balls. Again, that's why extremes with Green. You can bet on him striking out guys. You can also bet on him giving up homers. Woodruff's at 28% as far as his Ks. Small samples, only come back for so many appearances since his injury. Trying to see anybody else of notes. I mentioned the Braves and Logan Webb. Is that Chop just one of those games where everybody's just going to pretend it's not happening? Or the rule is, shout out to Kirkwood. I don't know if he's playing tonight, but he just wants to play his Braves no matter what. It's not a great spot, obviously. Roth may or may not be in attendance for what it's worth. I don't know if he's going to move the needle or not. But what are our thoughts just that game in general? Of course, we like Strider, but what about Webb, who's pretty solid, and the Braves are the best offense in baseball?
Yeah, so On the other side there, Strider versus San Francisco. All right, this is not my thing. I don't do this. I'm not that gutsy, but I know, there are people out there who will stack San Francisco. They're very sharp and they completely, have all that leverage over the field, and they'll stack a little San Francisco in there against Strider. And every once in a while, and this year actually more than we thought it would happen, he gives up these big games. I'm not going to do it. I can't do it, but I understand the point if you wanted to do that. And on the Logan website, that's a really tough one, Dean. Like he's a ground ball pitcher. He's a good pitcher. He's quality. But this is the best offense in baseball. They're on a historical pace. He did face them his last start, wasn't it? He faced them just about a week ago. 4 runs, 9 hits. He's probably not going to get it done as a full stack right there on Atlanta.
In Atlanta, right? That was in Atlanta?
Yeah. Probably not going to get it done as a full stack, but who knows, man? A couple of the 9 hits in 6 innings is a pretty good chunk. If a couple of those are a little bit more barreled up, who knows what we're looking at? So I get it. I'm not. If you're going to go for it all the way. Don't one off some Atlanta guys. Don't one off some San Francisco guys. If you're going to do it all the way. But full stacks. But probably not my cup of tea. Those are the kind of offenses. Well, maybe not Atlanta all the way, but San Francisco kind of offense I want to X out of the field for myself. And Atlanta, I'll probably be underweight compared to the field on that stack. I think Logan Webb's good enough and at home that I don't want to necessarily go with it. But I get it, man. It's a hell of a leverage spot.
Just a heads up that Albie's expected back tonight for that Atlanta lineup. And no lineup official. It's a West Coast game. That game does not start for 5 hours or so, but we are expecting Albie's to come back. Anything to add there, Bobby, as far as, the Braves? Awesome offense. Again, the team total is barely 4, which is, I can't imagine the last time that they've had a team total 4.07, even below 5 is hard to see on the Braves sometimes. But a general thought as far as that game. You have a thought as far as Webb?
I'm probably not attacking Webb, and I'm probably not getting too many Braves in the scenario.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at as well. Jump into the chat. By the way, if you guys are hanging out in the chat, kindly hit that like button, subscribe, turn on the notifications, do all those things. We got to get to a certain like threshold to fire off the dongs. We have Chopper's knockers. Chop, we're not going to talk about it, but I believe the knockers flopped last night. But today we're going to bounce back for sure.
Oh, come on, man.
Did they hit?
Who did I run that one by me again? I thought I hit on some stuff.
I thought he hit on one. I thought he hit on one too. I forget.
Oh, then my bad. I apologize.
Well, I tell you what,
Dean's just trying to steal all the glory is what it is.
Guys,
it's a team effort. No.
Guys manhandling the dongs these days, and he thinks he can just
all over the dongs.
Yeah, man.
Well, you don't remember who it was. Let's see if anyone in the chat.
Shit, new slate.
What do you say? He had Suzuki, right?
Suzuki. Happened Suzuki?
Yeah.
How'd they do last night? I think Suzuki might have done something, or did Hap do anything? I can't. The Cubs were kind of disappointing. I know they went close to. Did they go extra innings, or they lose 9? Well, losing 9. That's what a lot of teams do. But there was a close game in the 9th inning. I remember that. It may or may not have went extra innings. 5-4 sounds about right. Top of my head. But that's what you had. You had Suzuki and Hap. According to Patrick in chat, they didn't hit. Now they might have done okay.
Maybe it was the BVP play, Dean. I don't know, Dean. I don't know.
And is that working? The algorithm working today?
Oh man, I did fire it up. I ran it, but man, it is tough slim pickings today.
Really? Yeah. What's the best option we got?
You want me to give it away already?
I mean, sure. The people, they're gonna hit the like button as you're giving.
I think Chop's BVP play hit yesterday. I think it was Rushman.
Yeah, it was Brushman. I don't know if he hit or not. Hopefully he did. But today, very, very slim pickings today on the BVP model. So that was borderline. Should I even give one? But the people come and they want to hear one, and I hate to do it. I hate to leave them with nothing. So BVP suggestion of the day: Dansby Swanson.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Ian Happ. I just pulled up. I don't have access to your model, but there's other competing models online that I found. And let's see, what has Swanson done? Happ is 7 for 16 with 4 singles, a double, and 2 homers. I don't know why would your model not like that? 4 strikeouts, 5 walks. Who might have questioned the almighty?
Don't question it, Dean.
Don't question his proprietary model, Dean.
Just stick with your dongs, man.
Yeah,
Swanson. Swanson 4 for 7 with a single, 3 doubles, no homers, but 3 doubles. Okay, 1 strikeout, 1 walk. It's not a big sample size, Chopper. I'm just
I said it's slim pickings, Dean. My goodness. Okay, we've said our piece. We will move on. We don't have to rub it in, Dean. Keep on bringing up.
I know, Dean. You've hit the last 5 nights with your dongs. You've ridden the dongs the last 5 nights.
You've been riding those dongs the last 5 nights. 5 nights in a row has got to be a record for your dong riding, right? It got to be, Dean.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to give just one out right now just to get it out of the way, just to make sure we're getting the board. And, like, I haven't been, like, taking the most popular players in the slate. You know, of course, everybody knew Luis Robert was going to homer last night.
I love the lead up here. I love the lead up here. So,
but I want the layup. I don't want to call it a layup because, you know, all these guys are more likely than not to homer. Basically, every single, you know, that's just how math works. But if you're going to pick somebody, if you're going to draft who's going to homer tonight, first rounder. I think he's a first rounder. I'm going to take a first rounder, get him out of the way. I'll take a couple ambitious shots later on in the show. But Kyle Schwarber versus Miles Michaelis. Schwarber, kind of an all or nothing guy. Michaelis doesn't really miss any at bats, and hopefully he gets out of the way early. Philadelphia, one of my favorite offenses on the board as well. Amongst a board doesn't have a lot of spectacular offenses, but I do like Philly versus Michaelis, who, you know, strike thrower. You know, he's not going to blow up past Schwarber most likely. Do we like that as a dong call? How do we? Am I cheating? It's not cheating, right? That's kind of the quote unquote layup. And then we'll take a couple ambitious shots later. Is that okay, Bobby? You going to be okay with that?
That's a fine layup. Yeah, that's cool.
All right.
Fine with it.
I appreciate that.
Hey, Dean, I can live with that one. Now, it's the guys who come on here, and I'm not saying any names.
Oh,
that's not me. But it's the guys who come on here and give away the home run call, and you look at him, and the guy is like $8,400 on DraftKings. Like, come on, man. What is that going to do for us, man?
He's in Coors Field. Yeah,
he's in Coors. Weather's the best it's been all summer.
He's the same price as Verlander. Like, come on, man. We can't even fit him in the lineup.
Wind's blowing out to right at like 100 miles an hour.
And 3 seconds after he homers, there's a tweet. And look at me. Look who called it. Right? We're not naming names, though, right? Chop, just to be clear.
No, that'd be throwing people under the bus. I'm not a bus thrower, man. I am not a bus thrower.
We got to keep things professional. We're all on the same team when it's all said and done, for sure.
You know, at some point, you probably come face to face with these people. You have to be careful what you say. You never know.
It's a good point by Chauver. Good point.
Yeah, you might be their neighbors at some point. You never really know. Anything else as far as pitchers? I'm trying to see if there's any names that are popping up there in chats and any pitchers that we've not acknowledged their existence of. Dean is the DFS Larsa Pippen. Is Larsa Pippen Scottie Pippen's mom? Is that Larsa Pippen?
Oh, you don't know.
Wife.
No, ex-wife.
She's marrying Michael Jordan's son.
Wife. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why I said mom. But okay. Who's she marrying now?
Michael Jordan's son.
That seems like
Pippen and Jordan going for the 7th ring.
Michael is not happy.
Yeah, I don't think Pippen's happy either.
Oh no, what Pippen's done, he lost it a long time ago, man. Is it
a bit or like it's for real? Is this like a reality TV show?
This is real.
She was on a reality TV show.
Yeah, she's I'm sure she's probably like still striving for the notoriety, but you know, probably little MJ's probably in love here, man. You know, he's got him a little sugar mama, or you know,
I'm sure he's doing
a little cougar.
One of them sells shoes. I know a friend of mine bought shoes off his store online somewhere. I don't know. Yeah, they both play basketball at UCF, by the way. Shout out to that. Shout out to UCF, both the Jordan kids. It didn't work out. They weren't
any way to plug UCF, man. It's crazy.
We got to work them in. You got to work them in the show for sure. Defending, we can't win the national title every single year, but we're undefeated so far going into the season. We take on the Houston Cougars at some point later on in the year, and myself and Chop will certainly have a fun wager on that one. But yeah, anything else as far as pitchers, Chop? And nobody really in chat's throwing out other names. Any pitchers we may have missed?
I don't know. The names I saw thrown out, Dane Dunning, I think he's okay. He's not, you know, he's had a nice year this year. Dane Dunning was thrown out there. I've highlighted, we barely talked about Chris Bassett. I like Chris Bassett tonight quite a bit, actually. So I'm on the Bassett train right there. And other than that, I haven't seen very many names now.
Some names have been thrown out in the chat. We'll get to in a second.
Oh, sorry, didn't mean to.
Yeah, go ahead. Do you have a take on Keller? I was going to ask.
I don't have a take on Keller. He hasn't been great the last 30 days. I liked him at the beginning of the season. He's definitely hasn't been as good as he was, or I thought he would be up until this point.
I like how Tim is like, how does Dean not know this about Larsa Pippen? And like, I can't. Tim doesn't seem like the guy that reads like the gossip rags, but okay, I guess Tim is giving me the business for. I'm sorry, I'm not up on all what the kids are doing these days, but my subscription to the National Enquirer ran out, and I'm not watching TMZ.
You ain't watching TMZ. But while we're here and while we're giving shout out to TastefulTides, Tim. He nailed hosting the after crunch hours thing yesterday. Yeah, nailed it, man.
He's going to be hosting later.
Some would say he was a better host than Dean.
I think it's a direct shot at me.
Floating around.
When you say some would say, like people are saying, who are the people? Can you identify them specifically?
They're DMs. They're private. They're private, and I can't give it away, Dean. Again, we got to keep this stuff professional.
Yeah, I understand. And again, we're all on the same team, so I'm proud of him. How about that? And he'll be on in a half hour. He'll be hosting Crunch Time once again with SDL Cards and Carty, CEO of the Bats and the Blitz. A few other names that are thrown out here. Bobby, if anybody is interesting or worth noting, Derek wants to know about Lance Lynn versus Boston.
I'm worried about Lynn versus the lefties. He has been better the last 30 days. He's been better versus lefties, but I'm still worried about this Boston lineup and the lefties that they have. They're pretty powerful, and it's obviously Fenway. So I don't think it's the greatest spot for Lynn.
Apparently the one that is dating or I guess engaged to Larsa is the one that sells shoes. So the same Jordan's son, according to AK Boy in chat.
He sells shoes? That doesn't make any sense. They own basically Jordans, right? Doesn't he own Jordans, I'd imagine?
I don't know. I remember I was out with a friend of mine not too long ago, and he mentioned the shoes, and he's like, "You like these?" I'm like, "I don't know. They're fine. I'm not a shoe guy." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, I got them from whatever. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." It's like that was the conversation, but like, and that's how I learned that one of his kids sells shoes. I guess I don't know if they're Jordans or if it's a different company. I have no clue. But yeah. Other names that are being thrown out here, Chop. Let's see. Bybee versus the gutless Blue Jays. Speaking of, well, we weren't speaking of anybody directly, but we were indirectly. We're talking about somebody that may or may not be a fan of the Blue Jays. Yeah, Bybee. He's fine. There's a whole bunch of like guys that are fine, Chop, right? He's fine.
Well, listen, here's the thing. It doesn't always correlate to DFS performance, but when I start to look at pitchers, I kind of want to keep. I don't like it when Vegas gives the opposition to that pitcher a pretty big team total, like Lance Lynn you just talked about. That's the biggest team total on the slate. There's a red flag for me right there, and so Bybee is similar. He's a pretty big team total there for 24 teams on the slate, and it's at Toronto. They're not a bad offense. They haven't been as good this year as we thought they would, but they're still not a bad offense. So they're probably not a guy I'm going to play. Either one of those guys. Maybe a little Lynn, but still, yeah, I don't like that. I don't know. Probably not.
Chop, give me your favorite pitcher. Give me the pitcher you're going to be over the field the most on and the pitcher you're going to be under the field the most on. As of right now, somebody to change.
Okay. Looking at some ownership numbers, probably – well over the field on just looking at these numbers. Chris Bassett. Yeah, I'll be over the field on Bassett. I mean, I'll have plenty of Senga, Strider, Bryce Miller. Those guys are all, owned appropriately. So way over on Chris Bassett. Under the field, no doubt, Brandon Pfaadt. No doubt about it.
Under or over? You said over?
Under on Brandon Pfaadt. I'll be way under on Pfaadt.
What if I told you Brandon Pfaadt has a 6.5 player prop for strikeouts?
I'd say that the whole prop market is typically not the most efficient in Vegas, so I don't really look at those on a daily basis, so I'm not really worried about it.
By the way, extreme hitters umpire for Lance Lynn, extreme hitters umpire for Cutter Crawford, as well as Zach Neal and Dylan Cease and Sonny Gray. As is always, the typical speech when a bunch of new series starts, This stuff is subject to change when it comes to the umpires. This is what we have right now. Some have not yet settled as far as umpires, but that's what we're looking at on this slate. Same question to you, Bobby. Give me the pitcher that you currently are most overweight and underweight to the field.
Currently most over on Cease. Underweight. I don't even know. Like a guy I'm not playing, or just like.
Yeah, sure. If you're not playing them, they're like 10%.
I don't have any Logan Webb. I don't have any Mitch Keller. I guess those guys are like guys that could be played that I'm not currently playing.
Is this Cincinnati lineup especially bad today? Has it come out? They're talking about it there in chat. And again, I think Fought's pretty interesting. Super, super cheap. And he's, again, big time prospect, starting to figure it out last 2 times out. We're looking at 26.5% when it comes to Ks. Like Male's in there, who's not a lot of power, strikes out the 26%, leading off of Friedel, McLean, De La Cruz, Steer, Martini. Of course, Votto is gone. Votto on the IL. Encarnacion Strand prospect, but plenty of Ks there. Marte, in a small sample, has struck out a fair bit. Benson's another strikeout guy, but he does come with a fair bit of power. All right, give me the summary, Chop. Summarize the arms. We're going to talk about bats. We're going to talk about stacks in a second.
Summarize the arms, lots of good ones. Just so there's a plethora of good, strong pitching, highlighted by Spencer Strider. But then there's plenty of guys in that mid-range that you can go to. Senga, Miller, Dylan Cease, Chris Bassett, and Yu Darvish, I think are awesome plays in the middle there. And you can even go lower with Cole Irvin. And apparently there's going to be a lot of love for Brandon Pfaadt, but I mean, that is what it is. So if you want to play him. You never know. Since he does strike out a lot and the lineup is not as – it does look off a little bit tonight, but – man, I've already dug in, so I really can't backtrack now.
You can backtrack; it's okay. Like the
lineup is not as strong as I've been seeing in recent days. But okay, whatever.
With new information, Chop, new information, you're allowed to change your mind. It's
new information. I'll still be way underweight on him, but maybe I will sprinkle him in just to be a little bit different with my hitting.
By the way, speaking of new information, Roth did update the weather. I just dropped it in chat. It's now just straight yellow in Boston, which I believe is a slight upgrade. He said it looks pretty good. I'm low in the risk here to chance for a delay. Even that chance isn't a very good chance, and while possible at any time, will be more likely late than early. Okay, so if you like pitchers there for whatever reason, LA and Boston, you can run them out there, but feel pretty good as far as all systems go in Boston. Straight green in San Francisco, straight green in Minnesota. Winds blowing out to right field 10 to 15 miles per hour. Green as well for the White Sox. All right, Bobby, your thoughts as far as pitching? What do you want to give as far as the summary?
Yeah, Strider is very good. I'm still going to be slightly overweight on Strider, but I think I'm going to be over on Cease, like Senga, Bryce Miller, Woodruff, Darvish, those guys in that range. Then going down, probably Cole Irvin.
All right, going to get to stacks in just a second, but I do want to mention a couple things before we get there. The NFL is already here. Less than 2 weeks, I want to say. Is it 13 days? And not next Thursday, but the Thursday after. After will be Kansas City and Detroit. That should be a phenomenal showdown slate game. And by the way, we're going to have showdown coverage. We're going to have all sorts of content. Sunday mornings, I believe, we talked about the other day. I believe it might actually be 9:30 in the morning. 9:30 in the morning, we're going to start our shows, possibly with somebody on this show, maybe. Working our way all the way up to lock. Nothing official just yet, but that's possibly the plan. You're going to want to tune in for football Sunday mornings and obviously throughout the week as well. And also, RG Premium. RG Premium is a thing. If you're not ordering the combo, if you don't want all the sports, the NFL, it's already here. We're ready more than ever with our team of experts and suite of tools. Let RotoGrinders handle the legwork so you can work less, win more this NFL season, get access to everything we have to offer at a special discount available only to those without an RG subscription. The entire full season subscription for $50 off at a limited time only price of $375. So, yeah, all right. I'm pretty sure the projections are already live for week one. Obviously, there's going to be some tuning as we work our way up the lock. But if you're curious what they are, I believe they were released a week or so ago. So certainly something to keep an eye on, something to get excited about, talking some football. New sports, always exciting. A new site, a different site. If you're not playing necessarily DFS specifically, you can check out Stat Hero. Stat Hero, if you're not aware, it's a unique fantasy sports platform. You know it, you love it. It allows users to compete against the house instead of players. You're not competing against myself or Chop or Bobby or anybody hang out in chat. You are competing against the house. The Searing 20 contest for MLB Pick'em that is still going on. Join the free-to-play contest. Win to start your streak. Keep your streak alive by playing each day. Build your streaks. Win prizes with consecutive wins, including RG swag, RG premium, and a cash prize. $20,000 first prize for the Searing 20. Use the promo code GRINDERS. Get yourself a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Jump into the action today over at Stat Hero. All right. Chop, we've kind of talked about it a little bit, danced around it as far as today's stacks. You've kind of teased one of your favorite stacks that's not even on the board consensus-wise. Myself, the Under the Weather had the fish Kirkwood. STL Cards will be on in a bit. TastefulTides Tim, he'll be on in a bit as well with crunch time in 20 minutes or so. Consensus-wise, Chopper, we have number 1, the Dodgers. Number 2, Philadelphia, Baltimore, the White Sox, Arizona, and Boston. It's a huge slate. 24 teams are playing baseball, Chop. We each have to submit 5 teams, and collectively, we've submitted 6. So it's really compact as far as who is in the top stacks, at least according to us 4. Doesn't mean you can't stray. What do you want to kick off? What do you want to kick on? What is too high? What is too low? Chop, your thoughts when it comes to stacks.
It's a fairly good list. I've got about 4 of the similar teams there. I've just got them in a different order. I like Baltimore number 1 tonight. I kind of mentioned it earlier. My number 1 stack isn't that expensive. I like Baltimore number 1, Dean. I'm going for Baltimore tonight. Let me see if I can pull up those salaries. Yeah, like those first couple guys a bit much. Oh, dang. Dean, okay. You know what, Dean? Let's just do it, man. Let's just go for the Choppers knockers because I'm here. I'm here. I'm on Baltimore. We'll give you some Maryland knockers. I don't know if you've ever seen any Maryland knockers. This might be a first, but
I'm aware of crab cakes in Maryland. They got knockers in Maryland as well.
This is not quite the same thing, but I'm gonna give it. We're going back to back in the order here. We're going 2-3. Ryan Mountcastle, Anthony Santandier, Dean. Anthony Santandier. We're going for that one. That's the chop. Santandier. He's French. I don't know if you knew that, but
did not know that.
But so we get past Rushman and Gunner, and all of a sudden I've got Ozzy Albies is not in the lineup. Neither is Sean Murphy tonight, by the way.
Oh, that's interesting.
That might bump up Webb. That might bump
do we like Webb now?
Actually, D'Arnaud's in, so it's just I don't know.
He's the best backup hitting catcher in baseball, D'Arnaud.
I love D'Arnaud. Yeah.
Yeah. But who's in there for Albies instead? Is it just
yeah, I didn't look, but
Nicky Lopez or something like that?
Something like all right. So back to Baltimore. Just throwing that little bit out there. But once we get past those first 2, Mountcastle 4,500, that's not super expensive, and that's one of my favorite plays on the whole slate. He just murders left-handers, right? So I've got the numbers to back that up if you want them, Dean. How good he is against left-handers, but he got a 1061 OPS this year against lefties, a 184 weighted runs created plus. He smashes lefties, so I'm on that one right there. And Santandier only 4K. Then there's nobody else in the rest of that lineup over 4K. There's Hayes 3,800, so it's cheap, it's good. I think they smash Freeland. I don't think he's particularly good. I think the offense is going to fire up tonight. So I've got them number 1 in my stack rankings.
Who's Mullins coming in for? He's lurking. He's not starting because of the lefty.
Who's what?
Who does Mullins come in for?
Oh, let's see. Let's take a look there. Is it going to be it can't be any of those first few guys.
McKenna?
Would it be Mateo? Nah. Would it be Mateo?
I didn't mean to derail it. I was just sort of thinking out loud.
I don't know. Maybe, and I don't even hate Mateo, so that sucks. But, it is what it is. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe not, Dean. Maybe he just gets the night off. Like, they're pretty deep. So
okay,
we're fine with that one. I like Chicago, another cheaper stack, the White Sox here. Yeah, I like this matchup here. Let's give them, they're not a good team, but every once in a while the offense gets cranked up. Then I go down to the expensive guys like Philly and LA. I had Cincy at number 5. Don't like the lineup. I'll probably keep him there because, man, you're going to get a lot of leverage in this spot. He's, Fat's overall numbers. Like his game logs look better than what the underlying numbers say they should be, probably. So I kind of like Cincy, but then whatever else you want to round up. So I bumped out. Who did I bump out then from y'all's? Arizona. Yeah, man. I probably would rather start Green than Hunter Green than Arizona, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think Green's sort of interesting, but like he also can put up a -10. But he has that 101 mile an hour fastball, whatever it is. By the way, it's likely McKenna. I just kind of looked at the starting lineup, and he's playing center field. So if you're just sort of, and again, doesn't mean you can't play McKenna, but I just feel like Mullins is probably the most likely guy to take his spot if the situation calls for it. If it's a blowout, like you said, they'll give him the entire night off, most likely. Your thoughts, Bobby, when it comes to stacks? Again, I'll run them down one more time according to our consensus rankings. Myself, Kirkwood, STL Cards, and Tim. We have the Dodgers #1, Philly #2, Baltimore #3. By the way, Cards has Baltimore #1 in his rankings. White Sox, Arizona, and then Boston gets a little bit of love. Do you like that board? Anything you want to kick off? What's not on there that should be?
3 for 3 with Baltimore #1 between me, Chop, and Cards. I really like Baltimore. I really like the righties. I don't want to go and just reiterate everything Chop liked in terms of Mountcastle, Santander, but I like all those guys. The Dodgers would be #2 for me, then the Red Sox, then the Phillies. I think Chicago would be 5. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm approaching it. I also think Toronto is going to go overlooked, and I think maybe this is the night Toronto breaks out. The roof's open at the Rogers Center. There's good weather there, so I think that's an interesting GPP play.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what the story is with Vlad, and it's just like he's been so bad by his standards, even worse the last month of the season. I don't know, man. It's kind of strange. But he's cheap, especially he's really cheap on FanDuel, where he's like 3.2 or 3.3 over there. And just collectively, they're pretty cheap on FanDuel. That kind of the price sort of shuffles depending on how well you're doing, and that team's not doing great. Bichette's like 3.3 over there. Bybee's kind of a reverse splits pitcher, and Toronto's got a lot of righty power. If you want to make that argument, I have no issues with that at all. Toronto, I don't think I'm making enough lineups to get there, but I think Toronto's interesting. All right, let me see what the chat has to say, what they're up to. The chat, the rest of the show is yours. The entire show is yours, but the rest of the show is yours as well. Let's see, we're talking about 15 minutes until crunch time comes in. You got STL Cards, as well as TastefulTides and DerekCarty, CEO of the Bat and the Blitz. Whatever's on your mind there in chat, feel free to ask us whatever questions, whatever you're pondering. Life questions, Chop Man. Like, he likes answering those life questions for sure. But if it's DFS related for baseball, give us those 1v1s, 2v2s. Give us the details. Are you playing cash? You're playing tournaments? You're playing on Fanduel, DraftKings, large field tournaments, single entry. All that stuff is helpful. Jason wants to know who is everyone's just favorite hitter, not favorite stack. We talk stacks, but hitters matter too. Chop, you have a favorite hitter? He says his is Julio, J-Rod versus Kansas City. Who is your favorite hitter on this slate, Chop?
J-Rod has been like, he put that offense on his back these last couple weeks. So that's a good call. But I mean, I just mentioned him. Just looking at everything, it's probably Mountcastle, man. He's just vastly underrated. I like Ryan Mountcastle quite a bit tonight.
How about yourself, Bobby? You have a favorite hitter on the slate? Just a general hitter.
I like Mountcastle too, but I'm going to go with one of the two Dodgers. I'd probably prefer Mookie to Freeman, but I think they're both very much in great spots tonight.
Now, you like Betts just because Betts is spectacular, or you're buying into like the narrative streets?
I'm buying into the narrative street, but I'm like, I think I would lean Freeman because I like the lefty, but I do think Betts is going to have a vengeful night tonight. So yeah,
he's going to inspire. Like, is inner John Wick's going to come out? Is that what you're suggesting?
I hope so. I'd like to see it. I don't know. Their organizations just, I don't know how you don't just pay the guy. So.
And Crawford is a kind of reverse splitsy. You get the monster out there lurking. Say it again.
Muncy birthday.
Oh, okay. So you got birthday for Muncy. You have revenge game for Betts, revenge game for Hernandez. Will Smith's very good. Freddie Freeman's really good, and a bunch of cheap guys. If a lefty comes in, Bush would probably get the hook, just throwing it out there. But he's super cheap if you're looking for somebody cheap in your Dodgers stack. And theoretically, I'm told there is some power in the bat. He's not really flashed it so far in the majors, but he is supposed to be a bit of a power prospect. Let's see what is on chat's mind. Let's see if I'm Chop, did you promise a feel it in your plums pick for our boy Butthole Jenkins? What do you feel in your plums?
Man, I did. But see, now we're like in this category where I'm trying not to recycle my picks, because obviously I love the Mountcastle, right? So, but I don't want to give it out for the third time. So I'm gonna have to give Butthole a different name, even though Mountcastle is my favorite hitter. But let's see here. Let Bobby take over for a minute. Let me find a fill it in my plums, man. What do I feel in my plums here after? Because I got some updated information now with the lineups coming out.
You feel anything in your plums, Bobby?
In my plums?
Metaphorically?
Yeah, I'm on Freddie Freeman dinger tonight. Big night for Freddie Freeman. Just going to reiterate it.
I just hit the Google, by the way, and Santander is apparently Venezuelan. I don't know if he could be both French. No, not that well, actually. They called that he was French. But being told he's Venezuelan. According to
Do you want
Wikipedia.
a long shot home run, Dean?
I've been kind of mulling it back and forth. It still hasn't quite come to me. Yeah, I haven't. I even consulted the almanac because I wanted to keep the streak alive, but unfortunately, nothing's like fully popped. By the official Atlanta lineup is Acuna, Harris, Riley, Olsen, Ozuna, Rosario, Darno, Arcia, and it is Lopez. Lopez is annoying because he doesn't always strike out, so it's not really an upgrade for Webb. But it's I guess safer because he has very little power, but he'll just probably ground out and probably not strike out. The tricky part is I had Santander as like one of my guys, and now I don't want to if I have mush abilities. Now I'm gonna people are gonna be saying I'm copying both you guys when it comes to Santander. I was looking at Mountcastle as well as another potential homer option, but I'm gonna pivot on the fly. Before we step aside, or maybe in the chat, I'll put the other two Dean dongs. But the first one, if you missed it, the first one is Kyle Schwarber, which is the quote unquote obvious one, and I don't want to get too obvious beyond that. But I had a couple more that I was kind of throwing out there, but now I'm derailed. But I will have it for other people.
You ain't got it, Dean. Here, okay. So, Dean, throw out some things for you here, real quick, Dean. I'm not gonna pick this guy as my plums play, right? I'm fin- But
would you pick two plums plays or just one plum play?
Not just one. But I would. This is interesting to me. You know what's interesting, Dean? The Toronto lineup tonight. The same guy who leads this team this year versus right-handers in ISO, weighted on base, OPS, WRC plus. This entire lineup, it's not these big names. It's Brandon Belt leads in all those categories. I just found that to be a little bit that's crazy. Now
it's
I don't know.
Indictment on his teammates first, but yeah,
he's had a good year though. Those are good numbers. But so my plums play, I don't want to be too. I want to say Luis Robert but that might be too obvious. After I just berated people for giving the $8,300 hitter as a home run, so I'm going to stick.
Got bigger grapefruits to call something beyond.
I'm going to stick it. I'm going to stick in the same lineup. Let's go, Eloy Jimenez. I'm feeling it, man. I'm feeling it. Now there's a Venezuelan for you, Eloy Jimenez. Let's get it.
Yeah, I like that call as well. He's pretty. You're getting a nice discount also against Zach Neal and whatever else is going to be coming out of that bullpen. Oakland, obviously they have been the worst bullpen this entire season. I'm going to be banting about. I had a couple other guys and I sort of lost them. I should have wrote them down, but we're going to figure out the dongs before. Again, we'll put them in chat if nothing else. If nothing pops in my head before we step aside. I'm just feeling the pressure. We get the streak going into the weekend, so the streak would theoretically still be alive come Monday as well. Momentum's going to start to build for sure. But if we hit tonight, let's see. Nathan wants to know, Chopper, top 3 FanDuel pitchers. There's no other context added, but your top 3 pitchers on FanDuel specifically are who?
FanDuel, let me pull up the pricing for you. All right. Strider is probably number 1 because the discount between him and the next guys is much closer than it is on DraftKings. So Strider number 1. Goodness, man. Bryce Miller number 2. Good price tag over there. Wouldn't be number 2 on DraftKings, but the price tag on FanDuel pretty good. And there's better pitchers out there, but for the price tag, $6,200 on FanDuel, Cole Irvin, man. Like, you can just load up on your bats if that was, Cole Irvin. I think he's a decent play regardless.
Yeah, that's one of the conundrums I have because I don't know if I need to go that low and if I need the salary that badly. But you're right; like you definitely can have a blast making all the hitters you want essentially with Irvin. But I think you can make pretty good FanDuel lineups at 9K players as well. But I haven't decided yet what I'm doing there, to be honest. Did you have a top 3 pitchers, Bobby, specific to FanDuel? If you want to do it on DK, however you want to do it.
Strider. Obviously Strider's number 1, but he's not going to be my highest owned. Cease and Senga probably, then Cole Irvin.
Yeah, Ryan wants to know if we like Irvin as a cheapie on DK against horrible Colorado. Ryan probably joined a little bit late. Yeah, I mean, we like him, but the problem is, if there is a problem, everybody else likes him too. I guess the other problem is that Irvin's not great. But again, he's facing horrible Colorado. How much do we like that, Bobby? How much do we like Irvin? 25% worth? Is that where we're at, give or take, around the field?
I'm going to be a little over the field on Irvin.
Yeah.
What do we have him for ownership? 17%?
I think it's higher. I'm giving a refresh. Last I saw was in the mid-20s. Things might have changed. It's 24%. And you know what? Fott's dropped a little bit. So Strider's at 30. Irvin's at 24. Fott's at 20. Cease at 18. So it was like 24, and Fott's tumbled a little bit. Not a ton. And Irvin a little bit cheaper. A little bit higher as far as the projection, just a tick.
You threw a curveball at me with Fott's K with the K
prop is real. Yeah. But you can wager real live American dollars on the under if you think that's nonsense. And it's not even like a big number as far as
it's a big number for the price tag.
No, but the juice isn't crazy, is the point I'm trying to make. Like I saw 6.5 at like minus 115. So it's not like it's like minus 150 or plus 150 on the over.
I was talking about in terms of DFS, just him being 5K and having a 6.
I gotcha. Yeah. You probably have a couple lineups, just those two, and you're really gonna have a good time as far as loading up on bets. I don't know if that's something you have to do, but it's a route you can consider.
I have a field in my plums.
Yes, what do you got?
Jorge Mateo, dinger.
There it is. That's the name I'm kind of looking at. That's the kind of person that's going to qualify for the field and the plums for sure. David Schneider just throws out Harper. I'm guessing he's answering the question, your favorite hitter in the slate. I like Bryce Harper too. Just like Schwarber a little bit better. Billy, I like a good bit. Mr. Richard says Tristan Casas, who lefty power against Lance Lynn has been a thing. Yeah, Bobby, the tricky part with that with Boston is, and it's sort of a misconception, but like, obviously it's a great ballpark for righty power, but lefty power, you got to pull it. If you don't pull it, it could be troublesome. How do you feel about Tristan Casas versus Lynn?
I don't hate it. You get a ton of power, good prospect. He's a lefty versus Lynn, so yeah, I don't mind Casas at all. You like Devers? Yeah, I think that's one of the easy ones, right? Yeah. Yeah, we didn't say him. So like, it's one of those things like if you say the obvious one, it's like, oh, you said the obvious one. But if you don't say it, why didn't you say Devers? I did say Freeman and Moogie Betts though. So like, why didn't I say Devers? I get it, but yeah. Somebody in chat said Freeman's been cold. I don't know. I assume you don't care, but like was just repeating what somebody in chat said. I think this is a good park for Freeman, right? Like you get the wall and left, and then you can spray it pretty much all over the field. So yeah, I don't hate Freeman. Muncie birthday, as our producer hinted at. So we get that. How old is Muncie? I'm going to say Muncie's like 33. Is that a good number? I think that's a good guess. Yeah. Chop 33 over or under 33.
Max Muncie, I would say, I would actually say over. I'm going to be contrarian here.
Maybe he turned 34. I don't think he's older than 30. He's not 35. He just turned 33. I won both showcase shutouts. That's it. The game was over. There was nothing you can do. He knows everyone's age. Yes.
Yeah. Some would call Dean the anti-Wander Franco.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go that route. All right. Back to the chat. We have a few minutes until Crunch Time shows up. Crunch Time will be here in a few minutes. TastefulTides Tim is holding it down. You got SDL Cards and DerekCarty. CEO of the Bat and CEO of the Blitz. B-Shot wants to know, Chop, when you're selecting knockers, are there certain characteristics you're looking for? That's important.
Yeah, and I responded in chat. There's several factors going into it. I want the same lineup. I want them to be within striking distance of each other. The knockers can't be like way away from each other. And then we get into all the other meaty stuff, the numbers behind the hitters, the numbers behind the pitchers, and see if we can figure something out.
Eric wants to know, Bobby, specifically to second base. We don't really go around the horn and give position by position takes, but we can do that, sure. Crunch Time's going to do that in a second. Just stick around. But what do you have, Bobby? Second base, specifically on DK. Who do you like at second? So it's Betts, right? And is there somebody besides Betts that you like at second? Salary issues obviously can be a concern. How are you handling second base? I'm pulling up our consensus rankings now, and yeah, it just kind of fall off. Betts is our number one guy. For what it's worth.
Yeah, Nico Horner. I like Edmund, Semien. I like Sosa for the White Sox. Maybe he's someone that he'll be a little contrarian. Where am I going? Edmund. I said Sosa and Betts. Yeah, that would be my top 5.
Chop, do you have a take as far as second base specifically? Obviously Betts looks really, really good, but baseball variants, we're talking about 5 at bats. If he's lucky, he gets 5 at bats, 5 events. Of course he can go 0-5, narrative or not. They'll hit a homer tomorrow. And they'll play tomorrow night's game. Betts beyond Betts. What about second base? What do you like?
Yeah, that Betts salary would be, that's a tough one, man. So I think if we're factoring in the price tag and everything, I don't know the ownership on Tommy Edman, but it might be Tommy Edman. Like, it's a pretty fair salary for him. And Sanchez is okay, but I'd rather, Edman leading off against a lefty, good price tag. Like, there's other guys who are going to be probably, I would say, raw points better than him, but those guys are so expensive. Simeon's 59, Horner's 58, even Little Hangover's 5,500. Yeah, I'll take the big savings and go Tommy Edman at second base.
All right. A couple more questions in chat before we yield to crunch time. Chopper, Mr. Richard wants to know good secondary stack for DK for MMA. So a large field. So I guess like an ambitious secondary stack, maybe like 3 on a side. What's your favorite? I think Cincinnati is the one you've been talking about. That's not going to be popular.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Cincinnati a lot, so that would be one right there. Secondary stack, if it outside of my top 5 that I've already mentioned here, let's go with Seattle. Nobody's going to play Seattle, right? Yeah, Singer's very average at best, 4.79 expected ERA. He can give it up a little bit to right-handers. They got some good right-handers in that lineup. I go Seattle, good secondary stack.
Going to unleash the dongs in the chat. Unfortunately, they did not come up to me organically, and my list was at 2, and I thought I'd have one more in the show. It didn't happen, but I'll drop in the chat, I promise.
I feel like you're choking here.
I'm not clutch is the problem, right?
You're not clutch. You're not Paul Pierce. You're not clutch.
Dean also
Paul Pierce takes. Go to Bobby's Twitter.
Yeah, Mr. Jenkins in chat is absolutely correct. The knockers cannot be the National Geographic type knockers. There's got to be some consistency with them. There's got to be some levity there. So can't be the National Geographic knockers.
I didn't have levity in my bingo card being said on the show.
Chop, don't take this the wrong way. It just kind of hit me. Does anybody, maybe someone else here, maybe it's just me. You sound a little like a little baby Billy. It finally just hit me. Like your voice. I haven't been watching the screen because like it's my whole video issue over here, but I'm just kind of hearing you. I love little baby Billy. Little baby Billy's Bible Bonkers. I'm gonna watch that when it comes out.
That's gonna be the best. He has to be one of the best characters on TV, like ever.
It's spectacular.
He's unbelievable.
Do you guys hear it? You hear it a little bit in Chop's voice, or is that just me? Is my
he has like this what's it like a
twang, a little twang,
a little twang, yeah, twang.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd ask these guys to confirm or deny. I see Tim's hanging out, Card just hanging out. I'm going to give a 0.0% chance that Cards watches Righteous Gemstones. And Tim, he's too busy keeping up with the Kardashians and Larsa Pippen. He has no clue about the Gemstones. Do you watch the Gemstones, Tim? You probably do not.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, but you love the Kardashians and the Real Housewives of Atlanta or whatever city? Is that all
I've
yours?
watched a few. I've watched a few episodes, Dean. Don't worry about what I watch, Dean. Okay.
Would you say that it's fun to keep up with the Kardashians?
Nah, not really. Not
Oh.
really that much fun.
Don't want to go that far.
I am legitimately shocked though that you didn't know that about Pippen and Jordan.
I knew that she
Like,
was
you're
with somebody.
Mr.
That was
You're
interesting.
Mr. Pop Culture. You're Mr. Pop Culture.
Yeah, but I mean, that's one of those things like I learn about, but I don't care about. Like, I'm not seeking that information out, but I don't care about the Kardashians, but I'm aware that there's a Khloe. But like, that's like basically all I know. And she's Lamar Odom, I think was her squeeze at one point. Maybe still, not sure. But all right, yeah, I don't keep up with it. Unfortunately, it's not for me. But yeah, Tim, hey, we all have our preferences, and this is a non-judgment free zone for sure. Do we have some taters fried up for the people? I know you're hosting. Can you do both? Can you give the people taters and host the show at the same time?
I got 2 taters.
Cards. Do we have a gimmick for cards? I don't think we have one, do we? Oh, the account each in our block.
This is the whole story. Yeah, Roth got fired for that, so that's why he's not here. But no good name other than Roth insinuating I work at H&R Block.
I wouldn't have known that was an insult. I didn't know that was.
Yes, that's what Roth was saying, but now you do.
Jesus, Dean.
I don't know the inside baseball. We call the accounting world,
upstanding member of the finance community. You don't know that's an insult?
To be working at what's wrong with working?
The guy didn't go through 6 years of college to work at H&R Block, Dean. My God.
Who is working at H&R? Aren't they qualified accountants working at H&R?
Oh, it's a bunch of 19-year-olds, Dean, that they give a little prep course to, man. Like 6 months before
Dean
they get
obviously
hired.
gets his taxes done at H&R Block. I think that's what we're learning here.
I got a guy. Thankfully, he does not work at H&R Block. Just a good friend of mine for years, and then thankfully, I know somebody that happens to be an accountant, and they hooked me up. So, but I never knew that was like frowned upon. But it feels a little highfalutin coming from you, Chop. I thought you were like a man of the people, and look at you, like looking down and frowning.
I am a man of the people. That's why I refuse to pay anybody to do taxes, Dean. I do them myself.
Oh.
You should have seen I've had some rough years there, man, where I had to really finagle some. Yeah, actually, when I run into any big problems, I actually do. I have DM'd cards before to give me a little advice, but yeah, I like to do it myself. I don't want to pay anybody to do my taxes, man.
We just lost our Crunch Time sponsor of H&R Block, unfortunately. Thankfully, we still have Fanduel sponsoring us. We have DerekCarty, we have Tim, we also have SDL Cards. Anything else before we step aside and get out of here, boys?
We good.
Hey, if you guys like best ball, go ahead. Did you have something?
No, I was just going to tell the people good luck tonight.
That was Chop, and that was Bobby. If you like best ball, and if you like, Spike Week, I'm going to be on the Spike Week channel about 7:15. We'll be sweating some baseball and making some drafts and some best ball drafts. Hang out with us, myself and producer Rob. Spike Week channel here on the YouTube. So hang out with us at about about an hour. We'll be drafting some best ball teams. Never too early, never too late for best ball season. For the first half, we do appreciate y'all watching. Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Don't go anywhere, though, because the now FanDuel sponsored, always FanDuel sponsored, Crunch Time, you got TastefulTides Tim, you have DerekCarty, and you have SDL Cards. In no way affiliated with H&R Block. Tim, take it away.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Bobby. And thank you, Chop. Welcome to our FanDuel-sponsored Crunch Time. We're bringing 2 of the sharpest minds in the industry. Tonight, we got a 12-game slate. We got DerekCarty back. Great call on Anthony Santander, by the way, Carty. And great call on the A's stack. That was amazing.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it was a good night.
Yep. And we also got Justin Van Zuiden, a.k.a. SDL Cards. How you doing, Justin?
Yeah, doing okay. It's our kids went back to school about a week or so ago, so that means like clockwork, a week later, the whole family is sick. So I am under the weather, playing through a Q tag here, but we're gonna make it through and then and sleep after probably a early bedtime for a Friday night tonight. But yeah, it's bound to happen. Whenever school starts, you're gonna get sick if you're a parent. So we'll push through and hopefully we can make some money. That'll make me feel a little better.
Yeah, my daughter starts next week, so I'm prepared for the.
You enjoy your cold about 10 days after they start.
Exactly. So I'm filling in for Roth. Obviously, there's not a lot going on in terms of weather. There's not a lot of good, excellent hitting weather or much rain to worry about at all. So I think I'll start with Derek. Maybe you could give me a little bit of a overall slate overview just to start out with.
Yeah, we have a big slate. I feel like the best plays on the pitching side are pretty cut and dry, but it's the kind of slate where kind of after you get past those top plays, there's a whole bunch of other ones that aren't that much far behind and are really clustered together. And so if you can kind of pick out the low end of those ones, I feel like you're going to be able to get different without sacrificing too much value on a slate like this, which is always nice. On the hitting side, there's a bunch of teams that project well and none that project outstandingly. It doesn't look like we're really going to get much in the way of chalk. So it's kind of not really a slate where you have to worry too much about that. I don't think you have to get too cute, just kind of play the best teams. And I think that's the thing tonight.
Justin, what are your first thoughts when you look at this slate from an overall perspective?
Yeah, I agree with Carty. I mean, I wrote the article for Cheese today. He's off to the live final this weekend. So good luck to him and anybody else out there for the live final this weekend. But I think I put, 2 or 3 pitchers in a top tier and then like 12 or 13 others that you could consider. And maybe there's a couple more that I didn't even put in that space that are at least viable. A lot of slightly above average arms tonight. Which makes this really interesting. I mean, Friday night slates are always loaded. You got a bunch of games, but you don't have a whole lot of high team totals. Like barely any teams projected over 5 runs here. So really interesting slate that's going to be skewed more towards pitching. And I think, if you get that maybe one-off guy with a couple homers tonight, could really be a difference maker on, even though it's a big slate.
Yeah, to me, this is kind of a tricky slate, both from a cash game perspective and GPP. I like slates like this because I feel like I can play whoever I want. I don't have to worry about ownership that much. Derek, why don't you start off with some FanDuel pitching, then transfer over to DK pitching?
Yeah, so I think for cash games on both sites tonight, you're really deciding between 3 guys. So obviously the best pitcher on the slate is Spencer Strider because he's probably the most talented pitcher in baseball and the matchup is great. He's getting a park upgrade going into San Francisco. Good pitching weather, kind of bad, below average San Francisco offense. So Spencer Strider's great. It's just a matter of he's expensive and there are other guys that are in really good spots too. So we have Dylan Cease, who is against Oakland, and we know that Oakland is Cheeks, I think the chat likes to say. So Oakland is that, and Dylan Cease is solid. And Oakland is getting a park upgrade, which is not ideal, but they're still Oakland, and Dylan Cease is a significant amount cheaper than Strider on both sites. And then the third guy is Brandon Pfaadt. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I've never heard it said aloud, so I could be saying it completely wrong.
It's Pfaadt. You're right.
All right, cool. So Brandon Pfaadt is the guy that the bet really likes because it doesn't see him as that much worse than Cease, and he's even more of a discount over Strider. Strider's $12K on FanDuel, and Pfaadt is $7.5K. Like that's a lot of money to save. Pfaadt is a solid young pitcher against the Cincinnati offense that is overrated, extremely strikeout heavy, and is taking a really significant park downgrade here going from Great American into Chase Field. So for his price discount, I don't think it's wrong to play Brandon Pfaadt in cash games. If you can get up to Strider, great, but Pfaadt is fine. And then on DraftKings, you're definitely playing Pfaadt because he's 5.6K, and that is absurd. And then you're deciding between Strider and Cease as your SP1. And then in tournaments,
let me ask you just a quick. Yeah. Can I ask you just one quick question about DK Cash? How bad is it to play Cole Irvin over Fott as your SPG?
I think it's really bad. Not really bad. I think it's bad. Partially because I think Fott is the more talented pitcher. You're not getting that much of a cost savings with Irvin, and Irvin is still getting stretched out. So he's going to be capped around, probably around 90 or so pitches. Whereas Fott, if he's pitching well, there really is no limit to what he can do. So Fott projects better by about 3 points, not that much more expensive. I love the matchup for Irvin, obviously, but I think I just want to find that extra 600.
Yeah, and then on DK, do you mind Cease as like a tournament option, or guys like Senga or something like that?
Yeah, so Cease for sure. I mean, I think Cease is a cash option. You could pair him with Fott, and that can be your team if you're not doing Strider. I think Senga is definitely fine. Senga's kind of like in that tier with Cease. He's just a little bit more expensive. And then after those four, like those top four, you have probably like 5 to 7 guys that are all pretty much the same. You have like Brandon Woodruff, you have Bassett, you have Darvish, you have Webb, you have Patrick Sandoval, you have Sonny Gray. So the guys of those that look the lowest owned are like Woodruff, Sandoval, and maybe Darvish. So I would definitely have interest in them in GPPs.
Sounds good. Justin, what are your thoughts on more of like a large field GPP starting with FanDuel and then going over to DK?
Yeah, I mean, you got all these kind of options that fall into a bit of no man's land tonight, right? I like Cease, but we've already kind of covered him. But you've got guys like Senga and Sonny Gray and Mitch Keller and Bryce Miller, Yu Darvish, Chris Bassett, Christopher Sanchez has pitched pretty well. Brady Singer is a guy that, has shown better stuff. All these guys, I think, are viable in tournaments tonight. It'll be interesting to see where the ownership goes on Fott versus Irvin. I like Irvin more personally in cash games. I just think the Rockies are so bad against left-handed pitching. And in that park, like, it takes an absolute moonshot to get the ball out to left anymore. I think Irvin is safer, but I tend to value the Cincinnati offense a little bit higher than Carty does. So, personal preference in there on my end as well. But both of them are certainly fine for the savings. But I wrote Irvin as my choice in the article today. So those kind of mid-range overlooked options, you could even throw Woodruff in there, but I'm not playing him tonight. You could throw Hunter Green in there, but I'm not playing him either. You can easily cut guys out. I think Keller is really interesting. He's had a horrible middle part of the year, but has looked better his last 2 starts. The Cubs are obviously a tough matchup, but you've got Keller at basically like 3 or 4% ownership tonight. Probably more of a DK play for me as opposed to the single pitcher site on FanDuel. I even think on DraftKings you can mess around with the double cheap pitcher build, even if it's like Cease and Fott or Cease and Irvin, because it does allow you to get pretty much all the bats you want on a night where it is tough to find those high-end bats. So I think Senga, in terms of upside, is probably the guy that I would maybe target as a pivot. But otherwise, I pretty much agree with the options that we've thrown out.
Yeah, see, I've been on Irvin all day, and then I saw the actual Reds lineup, and then I was like, oh man, the bottom half of that Reds lineup is really bad. So it's like,
I mean, Nick Martini's hitting 5th.
Right, I know. Like, that lineup is so bad. So it's like now.
Yeah, but what's the Rockies lineup?
I know. That's why I'm pretty conflicted, because I'm like,
play them both. Play them both and take all the bets.
I don't know. It's tough, but I mean, I kind of side with Derek, but I'm not really sure what I'm going to do yet, because I've been on Irving all day, and the Rockies are atrocious, just how they are. So I'm not sure. Derek, why don't you start us off with some stacks, if you would?
Yeah, so I kind of said it earlier. I don't think there's really going to be much in the way of chalk tonight. I think the closest that we'll probably get is the Chicago White Sox against Zach Neal in that great power park. And they're definitely good. Their prices are too cheap. You're definitely going to be playing some of these guys in cash games. From a raw points perspective, though, as a stack, they're not like among the absolute best. So I don't think you have to go crazy with them in tournaments. Basically, everyone else is going to be reasonably owned. So just stack up the best teams: Boston, Philadelphia, St. Louis, the Dodgers, the Cubs. There's probably 10 teams on this slate that are all like kind of bunched at the top and that are totally fine to stack.
Cards, what do you think?
Yeah, adding on to those, I mean, I think Baltimore is my top stack. I put the White Sox there as well, but like Carty mentioned, they're going to have a little bit more ownership. So if you're looking to go a little bit more under the radar tonight, I think Arizona is a really interesting one. Hunter Green looked horrible his first start back, and we know that even when he's right, yeah, he can strike out 10 guys, but he can also walk 5 guys and give up 3 homers. So I think Arizona, in terms of a stack, is interesting. I like the lefties for the Red Sox against Lance Lynn. They'll carry some ownership too, but outside of Devers, probably not overly chalky there. So yeah, my 2 favorites, the Red Sox lefties and Arizona, in terms of where I will be most overweight compared to the field.
Yeah, my favorite stack today would probably be the Dodgers, followed by the Phillies. I also really like Arizona quite a bit, and the White Sox are still really cheap. I think they're pretty interesting. Dean made a really good point in the last show. Hunter Green's a guy that you can be overweight on, and you can also be overweight on the team that he's pitching against. I absolutely love Arizona and GPPs.
Yeah.
You know, Justin just brought it up too. Like, he could be highly erratic. He's a highly volatile pitcher. So I really love Arizona today. So I really like them for GPPs. Let's do some position by position. Carty, if you could start us off with some catcher.
Sure. So one of the top teams tonight is the St. Louis Cardinals, and Wilson Contreras is just perpetually underpriced. He's the same talent level as Will Smith and Sean Murphy and Adley Rutschman and the guys that are always 5K, but he's always priced at 4K. Tonight, he's going into Philadelphia. It's a big park upgrade. He's facing a mediocre lefty in Christopher Sanchez. Wilson Contreras, I think, is just the pretty easy cash game guy. If you want to save money, we can definitely go back to the Langelier well. He's 3-1. He's going into that great park in Chicago. He's against Dylan Cease, which is why I probably prefer to get up to Contreras, but you can definitely play Langelier, even if you're playing Cease in the same cash lineup. Like, that's totally fine to do. And then otherwise, it's just, one off your best guys or play a catcher in your stacks. Like, the Dodgers are great tonight, so play some Will Smith, that kind of thing.
Yep. Justin, what are your thoughts on catcher?
Yeah, pretty narrow pool at catcher for me tonight, because most of the stacks that I like are also going to be the catchers that will be somewhat popular. So Moreno is a cheap guy. Obviously, I like Arizona. You can include him in your Arizona stacks. If you're trying to get an Arizona stack with Strider, you're going to have to play one of their cheap guys. So I'm fine doing that at catcher. Agree on Contreras. Obviously, Rutschman leading off, good splits against lefties. Will Smith, all the usual guys. But I'm probably not going to have a whole lot of catchers in my pool. Like, even if you're building 60, 70 lineups tonight, I wouldn't be playing 12 catchers. Maybe those 4 or 5. We know Carty loves the lefty masher, James McCann. So you got to throw him in there as well.
Man, how did that work out for everybody who thought that guy was a lefty masher? How did that work out for everybody?
He was a lefty masher for a week in 2018 or whatever. So
do you remember,
Carty?
Do you remember when everyone bought you that cameo from McCann?
I do. And he had no idea what they were talking about. He didn't even know that he hit lefties better than righties. Like, that's how much it doesn't matter. Oh.
Well, this brings me to my very first tater of the night. It's Adley Rutschman, plus 520 on FanDuel. That's my tater. Justin, take me to first base.
All right. So obviously a position where you might want to play a high-end guy tonight. But there's also like value plays. So you can kind of take your lineup construction whatever way you want, depending on what you're doing at pitcher, because you got Freeman on the high end. You've got Goldschmidt on the high end. You've got Christian Walker on the high end. You've got Ryan Mountcastle on the sort of high end. But then you've also got cheap guys. Like, I don't mind playing Rowdy Tellez hitting 5th against Darvish. Obviously a guy that, it could go for 4, but plenty of pop, and he's usually priced maybe about, $1,200 to $1,500 higher than he is right now. You've got Andrew Vaughn, for the White Sox, who's cheap as well. So to me, you're either going all the way up or you're going all the way down, and that's probably going to leave the mid-range a little bit under-owned. Tristan Casas, I think, is absolutely fine in GPPs because, nobody's kind of going down in that range. So guys like that, Tristan Casas, Pete Alonso, those can be your tournament pivots.
Carty, what are your thoughts at first?
Yeah, I like Freddie Freeman a lot if you can get up there, which I think if you're doing Cease and Fott, or I guess Cease and Urban, you can definitely make that happen. But otherwise, I totally agree about Rowdy Tellez. He's 2.2K. Darvish, can give up homers to lefties. Tellez could easily get you a 0, but he's cheap enough where if you just want to punt with him, especially if you're going up to Strider and just spend your money at other spots, like that's totally fine. Andrew Vaughn, I think, is really good. And Ryan Noda leading off for Oakland against Cease, I definitely have some interest in.
Take me to second, Derek.
So Mookie Betts is the top guy here for both sites. If you're doing the Cease Fott, Cease Irvin kind of thing, you can definitely find a way up to him if you want to, but he is expensive and I don't think you have to get up there. On DK, you have Tommy Edman and you have Jorge Polanco as kind of the next best options. They're basically the same projection as the 5K guys or 5 to 6K guys like Marte, Simeon, Horner, Geloff. But Edman and Polanco are like 500 to 1,000 cheaper. So I think they're both really good. I think Andres Jimenez is really good. And if you want to go all the way down, which I think is definitely viable and probably the move if you're doing Strider, is to do Lennon Sosa, who's the bare min on DraftKings. He's in this good spot for the White Sox against Neal in that park. And on FanDuel, I think that's probably unnecessary. I think you probably just do like an Edman or a Polanco. You can do Sosa, you can do Michael Massey, but I probably prefer that kind of mid-range.
Did you factor in any Mookie revenge into your projection?
Oh, it's half the Dodgers. Half the Dodgers have revenge tonight.
Did you boost them up for revenge?
I did not, which now that you mention it, maybe I should think about doing that. Yeah.
Justin, take me to second base.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add here. I think Sosa as the punt is fine. Edman on FanDuel is fine, even on DraftKings. Ketel Marte in your Arizona stacks. Ji-Hwan Bae is hitting 7th tonight, so I don't have quite as much interest in him as I did, the last few days. But Kyle Hendricks doesn't strike anybody out. The Pirates can certainly be a source of some cheap plays tonight. If we're, I'll get it out of the way now before somebody steals it. But if you are looking for some cheap plays that aren't going to have a whole lot of ownership, look at some of these Pirates against Kyle Hendricks. So one of my favorite home run calls tonight is Jack Sawinski. Strikes out a ton, but he's got plenty of power, and Hendricks doesn't strike a lot of guys out. So anyway, you can play Bay if you want. Don't have as much interest with him hitting 7th tonight. Maybe throw Jordan Westberg in that mix on DK as well, but that's about it at second tonight.
We're at 157 likes. If you guys get me to 175, I'll give you my next tater. Justin, take me to third base, please.
All right. Tim going full TJ there, getting the smooth transition into the likes. I like it. Well done. I think third base tonight is tough for me to get away from Devers, but the ownership projection does surprise me a bit. Like, obviously, I knew he was going to be popular. Didn't expect him to be kind of lapping the field. Our numbers are a little less aggressive than Carty's in terms of the projected ownership, but Devers will still be right there at the top. But the lefty power against Lance Lynn, tough to ignore. I like Devers over Muncy, but both of them are obviously fine. The pivots would be guys like Gunnar Henderson, Ke'Bryan Hayes, Jose Ramirez, they're not going to have quite as much ownership tonight. Moncada is probably the cheap play, but this is a position where I think I'm going to try to spend tonight. We've got some punts at other position. You can go cheap at catcher. We've got a punt at first. You've got a punt at second. Third base, while I don't hate Moncada, probably a position that I'm going to try to get up to one of the top guys tonight.
Yeah, so our viewers responded. We got up to 176 likes. So Bryson Stott is my second tater plus 1,000 on FanDuel. So Dean took my Kyle Schwarber plus 200. Dean, that's like, you better not victory lap that one, Dean. All right, Derek, take me to third, please.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised too that Devers projects. I mean, just his projection, I'm surprised is as high as it is relative to other guys and his projected ownership. He's obviously great. He's at home. He's in Boston. It's the best hitting environment on the slate. But he's against a good pitcher in Lance Lynn. Like, I know Lynn can struggle against lefties at times, but it's still more than I expected. But Devers is the top guy. If you're not playing him, it's Muncy on the other side for me. I'm in the same boat as Cards. Like, Moncada is the cheap guy. I probably would prefer not to have to do that. I'd like to get up to Devers or Muncy if I can. On FanDuel, I think Polanco is viable here at 3K, but I'd rather just get up to Devers or Muncy.
All right, take me to short, Derek.
Mookie Betts on FanDuel, where he qualifies, is again going to be the top option here. I don't know if we mentioned it yet, but he has the revenge narrative working in his favor tonight, so I put that into the bet.
I wasn't aware. I got to change.
Yeah, so if you can get up there, great. But otherwise, we do have Trey Turner for 3-2, hitting second again for the Phillies against Miles Michaelis at home in that park, who's really good. We have Tommy Edman for 2-9 on FanDuel and for 4-5 on DraftKings, which I think is reasonable enough. So I think they're kind of like the high-end mid-range guys that I like the most. And then the cheap guy, it's Tim Anderson night again on DraftKings. He's 3K. He's leading off. He's against Neal. I know he hasn't been good this year, but it's still a really good price for a leader.
He's so cheap, though. He doesn't have to be good now.
No, he doesn't. So I'm
because
totally
he's got
fine
one
with Tim
homer and one knockout.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm fine with it.
Justin. Yeah, no, I'm playing Anderson on both sites in cash, so I mean that's what I'm doing. So, Justin, shortstop.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can certainly hold your nose and play Anderson. Like it's a matchup against the Oakland bullpen. So what happens when the force that can't hit meets the force that can't pitch? You just who knows? So take the salary savings there. Fine with Anderson. I've bet the White Sox tonight. I'm sure that will go swimmingly. But Anderson, I think, is the cash game play there. A lot of the other options, I mean, yeah, you can always play Corey Seager in a GPP, but do you really want to play Corey Seager at 6,600 on DraftKings against Sonny Gray? I just don't love it. Not a lot of these other guys, the other spend-ups in great matchups tonight. Jorge Mateo is hitting 9th, so it's a tough position to find something that you really, really like this evening. So I did think you just take the punt with Anderson. If I had to spend up, it's probably Turner, or if you're playing Edman on DraftKings, I actually like him maybe a little better at short than second, but it's a position where my pool is pretty thin tonight.
All right, Justin, take me to the outfield if you would.
All right. So it's basically a clean sweep with love for Schwarber here. Michaelis, doesn't beat himself, doesn't walk a lot of guys, but also doesn't throw the ball by anybody. It's a perfect matchup for Schwarber. I think, if his ownership comes in anywhere near where we have it, we've got him at 2% on DraftKings, which I'll wager the over on that pretty confidently. Looks like Carty's got him at about 11, which I think is probably about right. I like Schwarber over Luis Robert if you're trying to pick between the two, high-end outfielders. And I think Corbin Carroll's really close. I mean, with the inconsistency of Hunter Green, Arizona doesn't mind running, trying to distract the pitcher if they can get guys on base. I mean, that's been their problem lately. But I'd probably rank the high end guys as Schwarber, Carroll, then Robert, especially when you factor in likely ownership. Tyler O'Neill, Eloy Jimenez, guys that are maybe a little bit cheaper. I like the Orioles outfielders that Santander and Hayes hitting 3-4 tonight, I think are fine as well. Mentioned earlier that I really like Jack Sawinski. I think he's a great one-off play in GPPs. Yeah, those are some. I'll save some for Carty here.
Yeah, before Carty does the outfield, guys, head on over to our Discord channel, of the live stream chat. Get your questions in, and we'll answer them for you. Derek, give me some outfielders.
It's a lot of the same guys for me. I love the White Sox guys. I love Kyle Schwarber. I don't have a lean between Robert and Schwarber. I think they're both awesome. If I can get both of them in my lineup, I want to do that. Tyler O'Neill, I think, is kind of like the lock button outfielder on both sites at his price and matchup. It's just too good. Eloy Jimenez in the same White Sox lineup. Seth Brown in the outfield on the other side of that game, I think, is good. It's just a loaded spot, and I think you really want to live in that mid-range, mid-range to high end. I don't think there's a lot of cheap guys that I really like in that mid-range. I think Alex Verdugo is good. I think Tommy Pham is good in addition to Eloy. I like the Sawinski call. I like Josh Palacios in the same lineup on FanDuel for 2-2. And that's kind of it.
All right. Well, I just want to thank FanDuel for sponsoring the show. Guys, please hit that like button. You can sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state and take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets, plus $100 off NFL Sunday ticket. Terms and conditions apply. All right, let's take some QQs. I'm heading over to Discord right now. Any interest in Brady Singer on DK for either one of you?
Not for me.
Yeah, you're definitely not playing him in cash tonight. It's just not necessary with the other cheap guys. If I'm building like 3, 5, or 10 lineups, he probably doesn't make it for me tonight. If I'm building 50 plus, I'm probably throwing him in a few, but I'm kind of a Brady Singer homer like cheese for whatever reason. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. For some reason, we like Singer more than the average rational person does. But yeah, I think you could GPP sprinkle him, but I'm not doing him in a not playing him in a single entry or a 3 max.
Derek, thoughts on Seattle and San Diego stacks for higher dollar GPPs?
I like San Diego quite a bit. Seattle, I think, is viable, but I don't like them as much.
Justin, FanDuel single entry, favorite pitcher to pair with my D-back stack?
Yeah, so, I mean, it depends, obviously, on who you are playing for Arizona, because if you are going with all of the high-end guys, right, if you're playing Marte, Walker, Carroll, and, say, Pham or something, or Gurriel, you're probably not getting Strider in that lineup unless you're all out punting like your other spots outside of your Arizona stack. Obviously, Strider is fine if you can fit him in there, but I have found that with the Arizona stacks, if you're stacking the higher end guys, that Cease tends to work better in those builds.
FanDuel Cash, Tim Anderson and Freddie Freeman, or Trey Turner and Max Muncy, Derek?
Tim Anderson and Freeman, or Turner and Muncy. I think it's the Anderson Freeman one, but the other one's not bad.
Yeah, they're both good. I agree with Derek, though. I'd rather go the first one. DK GPP, Justin, Devers, Wynn, Verdugo, or Arenado, Tim Anderson, Eloy with a Cardinals stack?
Yeah, I think you got to play the second one. I mean, I'm a futures bright guy on Mason Wynn as much as anybody, obviously, as a Cardinals fan, and watching him come up through their system, I think he's going to be a really good shortstop in the major leagues. And the speed is there, and the arm is there. But every level he's gone up, he's really struggled to adapt with the bat for about a month. And I think he's going to struggle to hit major league pitching down the stretch. I think the experience is going to be fantastic for him. But he's not a hitter you want to lean on in DFS yet. And I think he's clearly the weak link in that build. So yeah, I'd go Arenado, Anderson, Jimenez.
Derek, Marsh, Canzone, or Alec Thomas for a one-off?
We're really scraping the bottom of the barrel, huh? It's probably Alec Thomas for me.
Yeah, I actually like Alec Thomas quite a bit tonight. I also like March because I'm really high on the Phillies. Carty, the bat may not believe in revenge narratives, but you got to think Dave Roberts does to bat Hernandez 6 tonight. Do you agree?
I mean, the proof is in the pudding, I suppose. I don't know if that's really going to translate into anything, but you never know. Maybe he's, helping him, giving him a little extra something.
Hey, Carty, what did you think of the? I know it ended up winning, so you can you can talk about it and laugh about it after the fact. But I need your true feelings on Kevin Pillar batting second the other night.
I was on such hard tilt because I'd gotten screwed out of bets earlier that day. I had JP Crawford, no walks for like plus 200. 0 for 4, shouldn't have come in. Bottom of the 9th inning, the closer implodes. Crawford comes up and he walks. And I'm just like on tilt the whole day from that and a couple other things. And then Pillar, the lineup comes out and I'm like, oh my God, why is Pillar hitting second?
He was 0 for 4,
yeah,
so it worked out.
It worked out.
I got a chuckle out of the tilt.
Justin, Carroll, Jimenez, or Robert Rutschman, FanDuel cash?
I'm probably doing the second one in cash, though I like the first one a lot better in tournaments.
Yeah, I agree with that. FanDuel single entry, Derek, Cease or Irvin at pitcher?
Cease. I don't think Irvin's a GPP play. You can make the case in cash, but I think the upside's too limited with the pitch count to really make him a great GPP option.
Yeah, I think that's good. Before I head over to the YouTube chat, you guys got any home run calls? Justin, you got one?
I threw Sawinski out there earlier, so I like him. I'll throw Tristan Casas out there as my other one. I think he's around plus 450 in some spots. So yeah, there you go.
Derek, do you got anything? Maybe you could give some of the people from the bat a home run.
Yeah, top guy overall is Kyle Schwarber. That shouldn't really be much of a surprise in terms of like a more under the radar, sneakier kind of guy. Cal Raleigh projects pretty well for a home run tonight. And then on the betting side, the top option is going to be Bo Bichette plus 1025 at Bet365.
All right. That's good. Derek, do you feel anything in your plums for Seattle or Toronto?
Not really. I think they're kind of both just teams tonight. I like Toronto more. I think they're kind of one of those high-end ones that are a jumble, but I don't feel anything in my plums about them.
Okay. We had a question, Edman or Correa? They didn't give a site or format. I don't know if you want to take that one, Justin.
Yeah, it's Edman for me. Not big on any of the Twins tonight.
Do we think that we are sleeping on Seattle as a stack?
Nope, because I'm Brady Singer fan 102 after Cheese, so I'm not stacking Seattle.
Sawinski, Muncy, or Verdugo, Devers? No site given, no format given.
Verdugo, Devers for me.
Yeah.
In both formats.
Justin, who's your favorite mid-tier pitcher on FanDuel tonight?
I mean, it depends on how narrow you're defining mid-tier, but Cease is 9,400, he probably qualifies. I don't really love a whole lot else until you get down to Fought. Like, I'm not a big Bryce Miller guy. You're probably not playing Singer on FanDuel, so I mean, it's probably Cease. I would think he qualifies in there.
So we had a question if there's any weather concerns. I'm looking at the latest update from Kevin Roth. The only one that's straight yellow is Boston. He says it looks pretty good. I'm lowering the risk here. Chance for a delay. Even that chance isn't a very good chance. And while possible at any time, would be more likely late than early. So really nothing going on in terms of weather. I wouldn't be too concerned. Do you think stacking against Sonny Gray and single entry is a wise decision, Derek?
I think there's a lot better options to stack against tonight than Sonny Gray. You're not getting a discount. They don't project among the top teams. If you're running 150, you can have some, but there's a lot of teams that I like more.
All right. FanDuel, Hayes Anderson or Jimenez Mateo, Justin?
Hayes Anderson.
Is there any chance that Strider goes under owned due to the late first pitch in San Francisco? I'd say no chance. All right. Fott or Irvin, FanDuel cash. Derek, would you play either one of them in cash?
Yeah, I would. I don't think you have to. Like you can go up to Strider, but I have no problem if you want to play Fott in cash.
Thoughts on? We kind of talked about Arizona. There's a couple questions about Arizona. Do we like them as a stack? Derek, do you like Arizona as a stack tonight?
Oh yeah. The bat actually really likes Arizona. I think it's a little too harsh on green sometimes, so I don't know if I mentioned them a lot, but the bat really likes Arizona.
All right. Acuna or Betts, one off GPP, just with a Baltimore stack, Justin.
I mean, Acuna is not going to have as much ownership tonight, and you can always play Acuna. Like, that depends on your risk tolerance and your, lineup building strategies. Like, Betts is going to project better tonight, but any night you can get Acuna at 5% ownership is fine to play him.
Favorite DK single entry 3,900 or under at shortstop? Carty, what do you think?
Let me look at salaries real quick. Under 3,900, you said?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the guy that projects the best under 3,900 is Tim Anderson. So,
yeah.
You can use
Justin,
that extra $900 somewhere.
Justin,
yeah.
Question specifically for you. How do you like a Cardinal stack and FanDuel single entry?
I'm not quite as high on them as some. Like, I think they're all right, but I don't know. I've just watched them stink all year. That I'm not the best person to ask the Cardinal stack questions because I'm just out on them at the moment. But it's not a horrible single entry play.
I love
Derek,
it for what it's worth.
Derek, could you just give me maybe one or two of your favorite DK cash hitters?
Tyler O'Neill for sure, and I guess Rafael Devers. And you're definitely playing at least one of Robert and Schwarber, if not both, but at least one of them.
FanDuel GPP, Justin, Mateo, Westberg, or Cave. All of them finished stacks.
I would probably go Westberg if it's just a pick one of that group, I think is what I gathered from that.
Yeah. All right. Going back to the Discord real quick. Any thoughts on Minnesota for GPPs?
It's a no here as well. And then somebody asked about that a little bit ago too.
Okay. Single entry DK GPPs. Cole Irvin, Muncy versus Singer Peralta.
I'm taking the first one, but that's pretty close.
Benintendi or Hayes on FanDuel, Derek?
I think I'll take Hayes.
Thoughts on a Met stack tonight, FanDuel GPP?
Good luck.
Yeah, I think the Mets are probably one of your worst options tonight.
We've got a question in Discord real quick. Carty, how do you feel about Senga on FanDuel for single entries?
I like him. There's plenty of upside there. He's expensive, but he's going to come in lower owned than his raw upside, so I like him.
I know that Ohtani, when he tore his UCL, that doesn't going to affect his hitting at all, Carty?
I'm not a doctor, and I don't play one on TV.
Right.
I would have to think it has some impact a little bit, but I mean, everyone's kind of said like he should be able to hit. So
Yeah, I'm just surprised. I mean, what a disaster at the trade deadline, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they were doing.
It didn't go well for the A's. Or the A's. The
Yeah,
Angels.
like,
Didn't
I
go
don't-
well
I
for
don't
the
know
A's
what-
either, but
I don't know what your thought was on that, Derek, but I didn't like that at all.
I actually really liked it. I wound up being wrong. I thought the Angels had a lot of talent, and if they got healthy, they could have really made a run, and that clearly didn't happen. But
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with what they did process-wise.
Yeah. Well, I think that just about does it. So for Derek and for Justin and our wonderful producer Steve, always working behind the scenes, thank you, and you have been crunched.